Hey everyone, how are you? Let's wait for everybody to log in because I know there's quite a few of you who've been waiting to find out my list of books, motivational books to read. So I just want to make sure that everyone gets a chance to log in. And I'm just going to quickly hop onto my laptop and get the page up here so I can put in all the comments as I write. Sorry, I can put in all the comments as I share with you the names of the various books. Just to make sure that I know you're there and listening, please drop me a quick hi. Don't feel shy. I always say hi, Nim. And I will say hi back. Let's make this a little interactive because I'm sure everyone who's joining in today is a book lover like I am. So we're all part of the same tribe. So why not say hi to each other? Wouldn't you agree? Okay, so this is Sunday Chats with Nim, which is my fortnightly Facebook live show. I've recently started doing this show from my page, Nim Golkar Author, as opposed to my timeline, because I just found that there were a lot more people who had subscribed to the page, and that way I can actually reach more people. Okay. So where are my highs and where are my hellos? Drop me a quick hi so I can say hi back to you while we wait for the rest of our friends to join in. So yesterday was my part 2 of my writing workshop, and I know a lot of you joined in, and it was super fun. I really had a great time. So for those of you who are not aware, I've done 2 free workshops on creative writing. There's a part 1 and a part 2. Part 1 was done a fortnight ago, or maybe a week ago, and part 2, which was banishing common grammar mistakes, was done yesterday. Both those workshops are still available for you to view and go through on my page. So if you've missed any of that, by all means hop onto the page and have a look. Just scroll through and you should be able to find it. Those workshops were for kids as well as adults. So whether it's your child or yourself who wants to learn a little bit more about the craft of storytelling, you are bound to enjoy. Sriram says, hi Nim. Hi Sriram, how are you? Thank you for joining in. Hi Namrata. Namrata says, hi Nim, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Namrata. Hopefully you've had a nice Sunday so far. Mine's been, should I call it busy? Well, it certainly wasn't lazy. It wasn't super busy. It was somewhere in between. So in general, a nice Sunday. So today I'm going to actually tell you, as promised, my top 10 favorite motivational books of all time. And no, I'm not going to feature any of my own books in that list because while I love the books I've written, there are many books that I love a lot more. So I'm going to share those names with you today. And I've got the books here. Let's show you. Hopefully I don't topple them out. Ta-da! They're all here. And I'm going to share those names with you. And I'm going to write the names in the comments as well, so that if you don't know how to spell a particular title, you don't have to worry. I'll put that in the notes as well. Okay, so the format is going to be, I'm going to mention each name of the book, and I'm going to read a little bit from the blurb. So the blurb is that part of the book on the back side, which sort of describes what the book is about. And excuse the mirror image because mine is an Android phone, and unfortunately I don't believe Android phones have the feature to switch mirror images for Facebook Live the way an iPhone can do. So bear with me because the covers will probably all seem upside down, but that's just how it is. We don't really need to see those covers, but I'll show those to you anyway, and I'll write the names of the books in the comments as well. So once again, welcome. This is Nim Golkar. I'm an author, success coach, and public speaker, and based in Sydney. And today we're talking about my top 10 favorite motivational books. And I will pause every now and then to say my highs and hellos. So continue saying hi to me. I love hearing from you all. Okay, so let's begin. Hmm. So the first book I'm going to talk about today is a book called The Happiness Project. Sorry, mirror image, bear with me. Just look at the cover. Very, very pretty. The Happiness Project is by Gretchen Rubin. Let me quickly write that in the comments so that, hold on. Okay, here we are. The Happiness Project. Okay, so that's by Gretchen Rubin. I'm not sure how many of you have read it. It's quite a large book, but it makes for some very interesting reading. And oh damn, I should have had my glasses here, but I don't. But hopefully I can see what it's all about. So basically, in this lively and compelling account, Rubin chronicles her adventures during the 12 months she spent test driving the wisdom of the ages and lessons from popular culture about how to be happier. Okay, so this book is actually it's broken down into sort of let's just see if I can find a page. So it's broken down into every month of the year. So January, February, March, April, so on, all the way through to December. And each month the author takes up a different aspect of her life to see how she can find happiness in that particular area of her life. It is amazing writing, some really great tips on finding happiness. So that is a book that I have thoroughly enjoyed. It's The Happiness Project by Gretchen Rubin. Okay, let's quickly say hi to my friends. Rupesh Bobby says hi. Hi Rupesh, welcome. Poonam Soot says hi. Nim, hi Poonam, how are you? Caillou, I need to talk to you. How can I call? I would suggest that you just drop me a quick email, Caillou. It's nim@nimkolkar.com and we can take it from there. And Preeti Malhotra says, good evening, Nim. Good evening, Preeti. Welcome. Okay, so that was the first book I wanted to suggest to you is The Happiness Project by Gretchen Rubin. Fairly thick book, but really great reading. The next one is an eternal, evergreen, universal classic, which I'm sure a lot of you have already read. But this book, I mean, honestly, I have read it so many times and learned so much from it every single time I've read it, that even if you've already read it, I would highly recommend that you read it again. And that's the classic by Dale Carnegie, which is How to Win Friends and Influence People. Okay, so this book I actually read for the first time when I was at school, and that's a long time ago. And even young as I was back then, I just remember being very, very impressed with the concepts that Carnegie is actually exploring in this book. Okay, so let's read you a little bit about it. Since it was first published in 1936, Dale Carnegie's all-time classic has been translated into almost every known language and continues to help millions of readers around the world. How to Win Friends and Influence People can help you achieve important goals such as get out of a mental rut, think new thoughts, acquire new visions, make friends easily and quickly, increase your popularity, win people to your way of thinking. So as you can tell, fabulous book, one worth reading again and again and again. Okay, let me type that down in my comments. How to Win Friends and Influence People. I'm always a lot quicker when I type on my laptop as opposed to when I type on the phone, and my children, who are typical millennials, always laugh at me when I'm typing on the phone because they think I do it in such an odd and awkward way, and they always tell me there's a much faster way to type than the way I do it on the phone, but well, that's just me. Okay, so How to Win Friends and Influence People is the next book that I wanted to recommend. Book 2. Okay, how many of you have read Sheryl Sandberg's Lean In? Not a very big book. It's quite a lean book. No pun intended. So lean in. Let's find out a little bit about what this book is. So in this updated edition of her groundbreaking international bestseller, Sheryl Sandberg, the chief operating officer of Facebook, examines why women's progress in achieving leadership roles has stalled, explains the root causes, and offers solutions that can empower women to achieve their full potential. Okay, so that's a fabulous, fabulous book that Sheryl Sandberg has written. And Poonam's got an interesting question here. Can you please bullet list at the end of the session? Yes, certainly I can do that. Poonam, no worries at all. Let me just quickly type this in for now. So that's Lean In by Sheryl Sandberg. Okay, and Poonam says, as I am cooking while listening to you. Multitasking, Poonam, that is fabulous. I'm glad that you have not missed joining the show just because you're cooking. So that's fabulous. Very nice of you. Definitely, I will put in a bullet list at the end of this to make life easier for all of you. Okay. And Ram Kumar says, hi. Hi, Ram. Welcome. So, hold on. Who else have I not said hi? Vidisha says, hello. Hi, Vidisha. Welcome. Garima says, hi, Nim. Hi, Garima. Welcome to Sunday Chats with Nim. So, please continue saying hi to me. And I will continue saying hi back to you. So that was the third book I wanted to tell you, which is Lean In. Now we come to an author that's sometimes a little bit difficult to understand for me personally, but honestly, his teachings are so deep and profound that it's a book that I have thoroughly enjoyed. Fabulous writing and some amazing concepts, and that is The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. So he's like a spiritual guide of modern days, and I really love how he writes. I have to read his books sort of one page at a time, just so I can absorb and fully process the teachings, the concepts that he is explaining. Because the concepts are so deep and really require you to think, I always like to take the books in small bursts so that I can really process it, because I'm that kind of reader. See, when I read, I don't just read for entertainment. I read for knowledge. I read to learn. And so I really like to think about the concepts that the author is talking about. I like to put up my own arguments in my mind as to whether or not I agree with the author, and if I do agree, on what points do I agree, and if I disagree, on what points do I disagree, right? So because I think so deeply about these kinds of books when I read them, Eckhart Tolle, brilliant author, I like to read his books in sort of small doses just to make sure I've got everything right. Okay, so that's The Power of Now. Let's see what's written at the back. Highly successful and internationally best-selling author Eckhart Tolle guides us through a challenging but extraordinarily rewarding journey to find the power of now. We learn that we can find our way out of psychological pain. Authentic human power is found by surrendering to the now. The silence and space all around us is one of the keys to entering inner peace. Now, you know what, my friends, we're living in such troubled times that finding inner peace is actually an essential ingredient for everyday life. So I think reading Eckhart Tolle is something I would highly recommend, because definitely once you've processed what he's trying to say, you do find a lot of inner peace. So he's a fabulous writer. The Power of Now. Do read it. And then we come to the next book. So how many books have I shared so far? 4. Okay, so the 5th book I want to talk about today is by Charles Duhigg, and that's The Power of Habit. Oh, I didn't write this down. Hold on. Let me just type this. The Power of Now. And what was the one before that? Lean In. Yep, written that one. The Power of Habit by Charles Duhigg. And its subtitle is Why We Do What We Do and How to Change. This is a fabulous book if you are looking at understanding some of your habits, particularly if you have bad habits and you want to change those habits. This is a great book that will help you understand why we're doing some of the things we're doing. See, many times we do things that we know are not good for us, but we still continue doing them, right? Wouldn't you agree that many times in different areas of our lives, we actually know what we need to do to have better relationships, to have better health, to have more peace of mind, to have more productivity? It's not that we don't know. We know, and yet we don't do the things that are good for us. And why is that? It's because of habit. And this book explains beautifully how the power of habit actually changes our lives in so many different ways. So let me read at the back. Award-winning New York Times business reporter Charles Duhigg takes us into the thrilling and surprising world of the scientific study of habits. Okay, so that is the power of habit. So those of you who've only just joined the live show, I will also put together a bullet point list of all the books that I've just mentioned. So don't stress if you've missed out on any of the names. They will be available for you. Power of Habit. Now, all these books that I've just mentioned, I've read them multiple times, enjoyed them more and more with each subsequent read. And it is, if you've been looking for a list of book titles, in this pandemic to sort of cheer you up, put things into perspective, definitely consider reading some of these. The next one, this one is again a universal one, The Art of Happiness by the Dalai Lama. How many of you have actually read The Art of Happiness? Anyone? Namrata says getting blank screen. I'm not sure why that is the case. Is anyone else having video problems, or can you all see me clearly? Because my screen seems to be working fine, so not sure. Let's quickly say my highs and see what everyone's written. Ram Kumar says, you people are multitasking. Always, that's right. I'm not sure if I'm a good multitasker. There are times when I think I am and times when I think I'm not. Just depends on what I'm doing. Although having said that, a lot of the chapters in my books have been written while I'm waiting for the pressure cooker and the dal and the rice in the cooker to cook. That's when I've written a lot of my important scenes in novels. So yes, maybe I can multitask. Who knows? Poonam says, my kids are getting hungry in every 2 hours. Yeah, I know, right? With the kids at home, I have to constantly think about what to cook next. And it's always a struggle because by no stretch of imagination do I consider myself a fabulous cook. I'm not. I write good books, but I'm not sure if I'm a great cook. Having said that, the kids say they enjoy the cooking, so I'm just going to take them at their word. But you're right, Poonam, you've got to constantly think of new stuff to cook. Tejas says, hi, Nim. Hi, Tejas. Welcome. Sheetal says, hi, Nim. Hi, Sheetal. Hi, Priya. Hi, Neelam. And Tejas says, all good. I'm glad. Hi, Namita. Garima says, I can see you. Thank you, Garima. And Guneet says, all good, Nim. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. So the Art of Happiness. And again, like I said at the start, excuse the mirror image. This is a brilliant book that really makes you look inwards. It really makes you reflect on life, and it puts things into perspective, right? A lot of us, we tend to, so it's got some, let's see if I can see some titles for the chapters that I can share. So one chapter is called Deepening Our Connection to Others. Another one is called Reclaiming Our Innate State of Happiness. Training the Mind for Happiness. I like that. Training the mind for happiness. Why do I like that? Because it puts the power with us. It suddenly puts us in control. We're in the driver's seat, right? Happiness obviously is something we can train our minds to cultivate, and that should give us hope. Because if we spend our entire lives basing our happiness on others, or thinking that we'll be happy and confident when we are validated by the people around us, it's going to be an uphill climb for the rest of our lives. Instead of that, this book, The Art of Happiness by His Holiness the Dalai Lama, actually shows you how you can train the mind for happiness, which is the title of chapter 3. Brilliant book, and I highly recommend you read it. I'm going to read a quick part of the blurb at the back. So in this unique and important book, and now celebrating its 10th anniversary, well, I'm not sure which edition this is, but anyway, that's what's written. One of the world's great spiritual leaders offers his practical wisdom and advice on how we can overcome everyday human problems and achieve lasting happiness. Okay, so that's The Art of Happiness. Type. Yep. Okay, this is an interesting book, and I never, ever, ever thought I would purchase it. So let me first tell you the title. This is The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying by Marie Kondo. So it's about how to keep your house neat and tidy. And honestly, I never thought for as long as I would live that I would be interested in reading a book about tidying up. But I'd heard a lot about Marie Kondo, and I thought, well, let's give it a try. I love giving things a try, and I purchased it and I read it. And she has some really, really amazing tips. So what's written at the back of the book is transform your home into a permanently tidy, clutter-free space and be amazed at how your whole life changes. Transform your home into a permanently tidy, clutter-free space. Doesn't that sound fabulous? And she does offer a lot of very doable tips and techniques to actually tidy up your home. So I'm sure that some of you who are watching this show are natural lovers of tidying up. I am not. I am someone who often thinks, oh, do I really have to do housework? Maybe I should read a book instead or write another chapter for my book instead, right? So I'm not naturally drawn to sort of tidying up. It's not therapeutic for me at all. But over time, I've realized the power of actually decluttering stuff. So sometimes I will declutter my wardrobe and I'll give away to charity clothes that no longer fit or that I'm no longer interested in, or I bought just on a whim and then never really used it. So I think this book also, so that's The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying, has actually changed how I look at housework in general, and it's put things into a sort of more positive light for me. I'm not going to say I enjoy housework after reading that book, but it's definitely given me a new perspective on housework. Okay, so let me just write this down. The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying. Okay, the next one is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Mirror image, but you get the point. The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. This is again a classic, and at the top it says 15 million copies sold! Exclamation mark. Now, for those of you who attended my creative writing, the grammar workshop yesterday, there was a section where I talked about exclamation marks and how everyone's using way too many exclamation marks in their everyday writing. But here, 15 million copies sold! Exclamation mark. That is a rightful place for the exclamation mark. Indeed, it deserves to have an exclamation mark because it sold 15 million copies, and that's a big thing. I'm not even sure why I told you that, but whenever I see exclamation marks, as you all know after yesterday's writing workshop, is something I take very, very seriously. Okay, there's a long blurb at the back, but I'm just going to read a line or two. Stephen Covey presents an integrated, principle-centered approach for solving personal and professional problems. With penetrating insights, Covey reveals a step-by-step framework for living and working based on fundamental principles or natural laws, giving us the security to adapt to change and the wisdom and power to take advantage of the opportunities that change creates. So basically what it's saying is that the only constant in life is change. As you all can tell, because of the pandemic, our everyday reality has changed. It's a whole new pace of life for all of us. So this book actually helps you put things into perspective, manage your time better, and actually transform day-to-day problems. Now I'm just going to show you how I actually read. So see, I actually make notes when I read. Remember I told you at the start that I love to process information, I love to learn, and that's one big reason why I never, ever give my books out on loan to anybody, because it's got heaps of my own personal notes, my thoughts, my reflections, because whenever I read a paragraph that is particularly insightful, I will pause and I will scribble a thing or two. The only thing I don't do is I never fold pages of my books, because I think that takes away from the sanctity of the book, but I do write on it. because these books are sort of my little personal treasures. And whenever I sort of skim through the pages, I like to read the stuff that I've written next to each paragraph as well. Okay, so this book is The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Let's write that down. So, how is everyone? I hope you're enjoying this session. I've got another 2 books, and then I'm going to tell you some quick tips on how to actually cultivate the habit of reading in day-to-day life. Let's see what everyone's saying. Namrata says, all good now. That's great. Namrata, glad you can see me. Poonam says, all good. Thank you. Guneet says, I love Marie Kondo. Yeah, she's amazing, isn't she? She has actually given some life-changing techniques for how to tidy your home and your space. Guneet says, I love the way she folds clothes. It's an art in itself, isn't it, Guneet? She's just amazing. So, yeah, for those of you who've not read her, please do. Guneet says, my mom used to say the first thing to do in a day is to make your own bed. That will give you a sense of accomplishment. Absolutely right, Guneet. I've said in one of my books as well that setting small goals and then achieving them actually gives you a sense of accomplishment and productivity and makes you sort of more motivated to take on the bigger goals. So you're absolutely right. Your mom is absolutely right. Let her know that Nim says you are right. And moms are always right, aren't they? I'm trying to convince my kids to believe mom is always right. But so I've got 3 kids. My son is 21 and my daughters are 19 and 15. And they're at an age where the last person they'll ever think is right is mom or dad, right? Because whenever I tell them, hey, do you want me to help you with something? They'll just say, no, I'll Google it. I'll figure it out. So that's how it is. But that's fine. What else? Who's written? Hopefully I've not missed anything. Okay, so that was the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And then I've got 2 more books that I want to talk about. Okay, this one is, I wouldn't call it light-hearted reading, but it's definitely insightful and it touches your heartstrings. So this is The 5 People You Meet in Heaven by Mitch Albom. And I know a lot of you have read him. He's also the author of Tuesdays with Morrie, which was an amazing, amazing book that really, really touched my heart. So did The 5 People You Meet in Heaven. I wouldn't call it a light-hearted read, but you don't always have to read light-hearted books, right? Sometimes it's about reading slightly heavier books that strike home the point. So let's read what's written at the back. It says, all endings are also beginnings. We just don't know it at the time. Isn't that beautiful? Let's read that again. All endings are also beginnings. We just don't know it at the time. On his 83rd birthday, Eddie, a lonely war veteran, dies in a tragic accident. He awakens in the afterlife, where he learns that heaven is not a lush garden of Eden, but a place where your earthly life is explained to you by 5 people who were in it. These people may have been loved ones or distant strangers, yet each of them changed your path forever. This is an amazing book, The 5 People You Meet in Heaven. If you haven't read it, please read it. If you've read it already, read it again, because each time I've read it, I've sort of drawn new lessons from it. So The 5 People You Meet in Heaven. Okay, and then the last one is by Sadhguru, and that is Inner Engineering, A Yogi's Guide to Joy. I'm sure a lot of you have already read this book. Inner Engineering by Sadhguru. And what does it say at the back? It says, it's a fascinating read, rich with Sadhguru's insights and his teachings. If you are ready, it is a tool to help awaken your own inner intelligence, the ultimate and supreme genius that mirrors the wisdom of the cosmos. So this review was actually written by Deepak Chopra for the book Inner Engineering by Sadhguru. So those are my 10 books. A pretty exhausting list. Yes, as promised, I will, at the end of the session, write it down in bullet points. But let's give you 3 quick tips, because I know a lot of people have asked me, over the last several weeks and months, hey Nim, I want to start reading. How do I cultivate the habit of everyday reading? Someone like me who is a passionate bookworm, I use any excuse to read a book, right? But I know that many of us are not naturally drawn to reading and yet recognize that reading is a great habit to cultivate. So I'm going to give you a few tips for that. Firstly, the biggest mistake people who don't naturally love reading but want to start the habit of reading, the first mistake they do, and the biggest mistake possibly, is they tell themselves, I've got to read for 1 hour every day, or I've got to read for 30 minutes every day. And you know what happens when you set such large goals is you feel overwhelmed, particularly because you're not naturally drawn to reading. How on earth are you going to put aside 30 minutes or 60 minutes to do something you don't enjoy at all? You know, it's different for true blue book lovers. We would read for hours if we had the opportunity. But if you're not a book lover, but you want to start reading and you keep telling yourself, oh, every day I've got to read for 30 minutes or every day I've got to read for 60 minutes, you're never going to do it. Because the human brain is such that the minute we sort of tell ourselves we've got to do something we don't like for such a length of time, we feel sort of boxed in, we feel suffocated, and we don't do it. So instead, do what I always like to say, pockets of time. That's my magic phrase, my magic mantra to do anything that you know is good for you, but you don't want to do. Find 10 minutes. Those are pockets of time. So just tell yourself that during the course of the day, you're going to put aside 10 minutes to read a part of a book. You don't have to read the entire chapter. Just read a paragraph or two. So what I suggest is on your mobile phone, start the timer and tell yourself when the timer goes off at the end of 10 minutes, you'll stop reading and you'll go back to doing whatever it was that you were doing. Now that could be Netflix, that could be cooking, that could be cleaning, whatever it is. Just tell yourself when the timer goes off, you will go back to doing what you were doing and you'll close the book. Because when you give yourself a small goal like that, when you tell yourself that's all I have to do, 10 minutes of reading, you don't feel threatened, you don't feel terrified, and you're more willing to do it. And what I find that when the timer goes off, most people want to continue reading because by then they started enjoying reading whatever it is that they're reading, right? So from now on, don't try to put aside 30 minutes or 60 minutes to read. Just tell yourself, in 24 hours time, I'm going to find a pocket of time of 10 minutes to read a paragraph or two. The next tip I want to give you is you need to start placing books strategically around your house. What a lot of people do is they read a chapter or two and then they return the book neatly to the bookshelf because obviously that's where a book belongs, that's its home. So they put it back neatly into the bookshelf, and because they're not natural book lovers, they forget all about it. And because it's sort of out of sight, out of mind kind of thing, because they don't see the book anywhere, they're not going to actually actively go to the bookshelf looking for it because the motivation is so low. So I suggest that if you're not naturally drawn to books but you want to start reading, place your book strategically. And the best way to do that is to place it open, face down, let's say on your pillow or on your bedside table. If you close it like this and put it somewhere, you're not going to be motivated. Like even as I'm talking to you, I can see the Daily Stoic, which is a book I'm reading, and that's sort of face down on my bedside table in that far corner of the room. I don't really need motivation to read. I love reading anyway, but I just keep it there because whenever I come into the room to sort of pick up something or to tidy up something, I see the book open and I quickly take it up, read a paragraph, and then go back to doing what I was doing. And that's how I build my knowledge. Even me, someone like me who loves reading, I never get an hour at a stretch to read. So I just do it in bursts, right? So put your book face down, either on your pillow after you've made the bed or on your bedside table, so that the first thing you see when you go to bed is the book and you think, oh, it's there, it's calling out to me, let me at least read a paragraph or two. And if you must shut the book, make sure you have a bookmark in it so you know where you were and you don't waste time skimming through trying to find the right page. And the last tip I have for today is in your Gmail account or email account, whatever you're using, create a folder and title it Books to Read. And then every time someone suggests a book to you or every time you think of a good book to read, just email yourself quickly and then put that email into that folder, so that whenever you're at a loss for new books to read, go to the folder and hey presto, you have a long list of book titles. So the ones that I'm going to write today, just email it to yourself and then put it into a folder, title the folder Books to Read, and you'll always have an ongoing list of new titles. So Ram Kumar says, you're the mom of 3 kids. It's unbelievable. Yes, I've got all my gray hair thanks to the kids, right? Because like I say, older the kids, older the problems. So that's how it is. Suman Chawla says, Malcolm Gladwell, his style of writing is so gripping. Outliers, Bling, Tipping Point. I've never read Malcolm Gladwell, but thank you for that suggestion. I definitely will try that out. Guneet says, 5 people you meet in heaven. Wow, it's on my bucket list now. Yes, it's a fabulous read, Guneet. I'm sure you'll enjoy it. It's quite spiritual in a way, and it does touch your heart. And it puts so many things into perspective. I think now, because we are in times of the pandemic, we have a little bit more time on our hands, and we have more time to sort of do some self-reflection. And books like The 5 People You Meet in Heaven definitely make you look inwards. And Suman says, I'll read Tuesdays with Maury. Yes, Suman, fabulous. Read that one too, by Mitch Albom. He writes some great stuff. And his books are not very, big. They're sort of thin books, so they're very easily digestible. And Poonam, oh my God, what an amazing thing. So Poonam says, please add 11th book, Unlock the Real You by Nim Golkar. Thank you, Poonam. I'm so glad you've enjoyed Unlock the Real You. Thank you. So yeah, if those of you who've not read my books, the first one was Diary of an Immigrant Bride. That's a love story. The second one is Unlock the Real You, which is sort of every chapter is a mistake I've personally made in my personal or professional lives. Every chapter is something I've done wrong in my life and how I sort of learned my lesson and how I use those lessons in my everyday life. And the third one, My Little Baby, is the recently launched A Little Wiser, A Little Happier, which was only launched in December. And that's a book with little chapters that helps you look at everyday life through a different, wider lens. So those are my books. Thanks, Poonam, for that vote of confidence. That made my day. And Poonam says it's a seriously amazing read. Thank you. Ram says, I'm basically a reader. Hereafter try to read. Yeah, I think reading is a great habit. You don't have to be sort of a natural book lover, but I really think that reading helps you look at life from new perspectives, and that really helps us not just in our personal lives and personal interactions, but also in our professional life and our professional relationships. Okay, alrighty. Poonam says, I'm halfway. I will recommend to everyone. Thank you, Poonam. So thank you, everyone, for joining me in Sunday Chats with Nim. Let me quickly read this message from Garima. Garima says, right now I am reading Unleash the Power Within by Tony Robbins, but I do the same mistake by keeping it on the shelf. I'm reading it since long, still haven't finished it. 10 minutes timer is a great idea. I will follow it for sure. That's great, Garima. I've read Unleash the Power Within, and that's from memory. That's quite a big book, right? So yeah, don't return the book to the bookshelf, because that's never going to motivate us to finish reading a book. Always keep it sort of face down in a place where you can see it easily, and then just read a chapter, a paragraph or two, and then, like I said, 10-minute timers, and that should be enough. So don't set too lofty goals for yourselves, because those are not manageable, and really big goals are quite scary. So when you're starting a new habit, it's always a good idea to start small and then sort of ramp it up. Like they say, incremental goals, right? Increase your goals in strength and in magnitude, one step at a time. Suman says, I'm waiting for your parcel. Would love to read your book next. So Suman is one of the winners of my book giveaway contest. So Suman, yes, the team has mailed out your book a few days ago, I think, when I messaged you. So hopefully, I thought it should be there by now on your doorstep, but who knows how the post is operating. Poor things, they're sort of doing so much in these troubled times. Hats off to them. So hopefully you should receive it soon. Just Raj says, thank you, Nim, for sharing reading tips. You're very welcome, Just Raj. Thank you for joining in. Alrighty, everyone, off I go for a cup of tea. Oh, no. I've had my green tea. Maybe it's time for coffee. That's what I'll do. I'm a coffee lover, book lover, and coffee lover. So hopefully there's many of you watching who love that combination as well. A good book with a steaming hot cup of coffee. Absolute bliss. Alrighty, off I go. Thank you for joining me. I love my Sunday afternoons with you all. And it's so sweet that you put aside half an hour for me every Sunday. That's very nice of you. As you all know, I really, really appreciate the support and love you've shown me throughout the years. Thank you, everyone. Love you all. Have a fabulous week ahead. Take care. Bye-bye.